This is Sarah from Two Doves Bees and Gardens. It's the day before Thanksgiving and I am going to make a pumpkin pie. So I wanted to share with y'all how I make my pie crust. Okay, a lot of people buy pie crusts because they don't realize how easy they are to make. This comes out so flaky and it's so easy. Once you make your own pie crust and see how easy it is and how good it tastes and how flaky, you won't ever want to buy store-bought pie crust again. So let me show you what you're going to need. You'll need flour, shortening, salt, and cold water. That's all your ingredients. For equipment, we'll need a 1 cup measuring cup, a 1/3 cup, a 1/2 teaspoon, a 1 tablespoon. You'll need a mixing bowl to put it in, a spoon to stir with. You'll need a pastry blender. You can use 2 knives. That's what they used before they had these, but that's a whole lot more work. You'll need wax paper, a rolling pin, and of course a pie plate. Okay, to start, for each pie crust that you're going to make, you want 1 cup of flour. And before you measure it, just kind of feather it to get the air into the flour. If you just dump, you'll end up with too much. There are 2 things that make a pie crust tough. One of them is too much flour, and the other one is overworking it. So you never want to knead your pie crust. Next, measure your salt. For each crust that you make, you want a 1/2 teaspoon. I use a little bit less because otherwise it can come out tasting too salty. So see, it's not quite full. Just sprinkle that in there. Okay, then 1/3 cup shortening. And before you add the shortening, mix your flour in a little bit with the salt. Just mix the salt and the flour. That way you're less likely to have too much salt in one area. And nobody wants to bite into something and, ooh, that's salty. Okay, once you've got it in there, just push down and turn to cut in the shortening. What you want to get here is you want to get it to look like fine crumbs, small crumbs, like graham cracker crumbs or almost like sand, but it won't get quite that fine. You'll see in a minute. What you don't want is large clumps of shortening. Okay, once you can see that it starts to stick together like that, and it's ready. So you won't need your pastry blender anymore, so you can set that aside. For each crust that you make, you'll need about 2 tablespoons, more or less, of cold water. It's important to use cold because if you use hot, it can melt your shortening. So To start with, put in about 1.5. We'll do this a little bit at a time. And the reason is because you don't want to add too much water. Get your spoon and stir it in. And as you do, kind of press it against the edge of the bowl. What you're looking for is for the dough to stick together and form a ball. You don't want to have areas that have dry crumbs. You can see this still has quite a bit of dry crumbs in it, so I'm going to add a little more water. And just drip that on the dry areas. Now, while you're doing this, of course you have to stir it till it sticks together, but that's all you want. The less you can handle it, the better. Let's see if mine will stick together yet. I'm trying to form it into a ball here. It's close, but you can see there's still a lot of cracks, so I'm going to add just another drip or 2 here on the cracks. You don't want it to get sticky, but you don't want it to crack when you're rolling it out either. So let's see if it will hold together now. That looks pretty good. Okay, and then form your dough into kind of a patty. Oh, see, it's still cracking. I'm gonna just use my finger and put a little water in there to kind of glue it together, make it stick. Because I don't want to add too much. If you are making 2 crusts, like for an apple pie, you would want to double this recipe, and then instead of making 1 patty, you'll want to only use half the dough and make 2. While you're getting ready, while you're rolling out 1/2, leave the other in the bowl covered with a damp paper towel so it won't dry out. Okay, let me set that aside for a moment. Okay, you may be wondering what the wax paper is for, and you may also have noticed that I put away the flour. What we're going to do is tear off 2 sheets of wax paper. You want it to be longer than your pie plate, about 1 inch on each side. And then, once you have both sheets, you're going to put your pie crust patty that you made in the middle of the 2 sheets. Press it down just a little bit, smooth it out, and then roll it out between the sheets of wax paper. I just kind of go back and forth to start. And then start at the middle and go off the edge. And turn it as you go. If you see it wrinkle, it's okay to turn it over and go from the other side. You can see it went out the edge here. That's okay. Don't worry if it does that. The goal is to get the pie crust all the way to the edge, all the way around. You want to be able to put your pie plate here and have about 1 inch all the way around. gonna do just a little more. Okay. When you got it big enough, peel off the top sheet. And then peel your paper off the counter. Mine stuck a little. And then you can just pick up the whole thing with the wax paper to place it over your pie plate. Make sure it's centered. This makes it so easy to adjust where to put it. And then carefully peel off the paper. If it starts to tear in the middle, don't worry about it. You can just go from the other side and peel up from the other edge. That's not a problem. And if it starts to tear, don't worry about it. We'll patch it in a minute. And you can see a little bit of it sticks to the wax paper, but that's not a problem. Okay, then take the edge of your pie crust and hold on to that. Just bring it towards the middle of the pan and then press it into the bottom and lay it back over the edge, and do that all the way around. That just gets the air out from underneath it. Making the crust this way makes it so easy to work with. It's very pliable. Sometimes it tears a little bit, like you can see here. Once you have the air out, just press it back together. That won't affect your finished product at all. Okay. The next thing you do is use the edge of the pie plate and kind of fold it over, and then you lift up the dough and just tuck the edge under and do that all the way around. That gives you a nice clean fold at the edge. Nice rounded edge to your pie. And if it's not perfect, don't worry about it. It will still taste wonderful. If you have some areas that are really thin, you can cut off a thicker edge and move it and tuck it under the thin area. I am looking forward to having some pumpkin pie. We haven't had that probably since last Thanksgiving. We make fresh whipped cream to go with it, and it's going to be so good. All tucked under. Now to finish the edge, you have different options. You can just use a fork to press it, and that will work just fine. The way my mom taught me to crimp it is you put 2 fingers under the pie crust, and then you put your other finger in between and just press like that, and that makes a nice fluted edge. So I am just going to do that all the way around. And you can see it's cracking a little bit. I'm not going to worry about that. If you were doing a 2-crust pie, when you put the second crust over, you would fold them together and then crimp it. So you're crimping both layers at once. And don't worry if it's not even. This kind of thing, it gets better with practice. The more you do it, the better it'll look. And no matter how it looks, it's gonna taste wonderful. So now it's ready for the rest of your recipe. I hope you try it, and I know you're gonna love the results, and enjoy.